The text message from my sister Victoria arrived on a Wednesday afternoon, 3 days before Easter. Hey Emma. About Sunday's brunch at Mom and Dad's. Maybe skip this year? Derek just made VP at Silvercrest Capital. The partners will be there. Your situation would be awkward. You understand. I stared at my phone screen in my corner office on the 47th floor of the Pinnacle Tower. Through the glass walls, I could see my team of 83 employees working across the fintech startup I'd founded 6 years ago. The company that had just closed a $180 million Series C funding round. The company that Forbes had called the most disruptive force in institutional investment technology. My situation. I typed back, okay. Victoria didn't know what I did. None of them did. When I'd left home at 22 with my computer science degree and $3,000 in savings, my family had written me off as the failure. The one who couldn't handle real pressure. The one who'd chosen some tech thing, instead of following Dad into commercial real estate or Victoria into wealth management like respectable people. If you've ever been dismissed by family who had no idea what you'd actually accomplished, leave a comment. You're not alone in this. For 6 years I'd let them believe whatever they wanted. When they asked about my job at family gatherings, I'd say, software development, and change the subject. When Victoria bragged about her analyst position at Morgan Stanley, I'd congratulate her. When Dad talked about his commercial properties, I'd nod politely. I wasn't hiding exactly. I was building. And I'd learned early that family who'd never believed in you wouldn't suddenly start just because you proved them wrong. They'd just find new reasons to dismiss you. My company, Quantum Financial Systems, had revolutionized how institutional investors managed algorithmic trading. Our AI-driven platform processed $4.2 billion in daily transactions across 47 countries. We'd landed contracts with 3 of the top 10 global investment firms. The company's current valuation, $680 million. But to my family, I was still Emma who does computer stuff. The backstory went deeper than they knew. I was 12 when I realized I was different from Victoria. She was the golden child, beautiful, charming, following every rule. I was the quiet one with the books, the one who preferred coding to social events, the one who asked too many questions about why things worked the way they did. Emma's difficult, Mom would tell relatives. Always has been. When I was 16, I'd presented an award-winning computer science project at the state competition. I'd won first place and a $10,000 scholarship. Victoria had driven me there, spent the whole event on her phone, and on the drive home said, "It's kind of sad how you need these little tech trophies to feel special." Dad hadn't come to the competition at all. Real business happens in boardrooms, not computer labs, he told me. I'd gone to State University on scholarships, not because I couldn't afford better, but because they had the strongest computer science program in the region. I'd graduated summa cum laude at 21. My parents came to graduation but left before the departmental awards ceremony where I received the Outstanding CS Graduate Award. "We have a dinner reservation," Mom had explained. "Victoria's boyfriend is in town." After graduation, I'd worked at a major investment bank for exactly 14 months. Long enough to understand how their trading systems worked. Long enough to realize I could build something better. Long enough to see the massive inefficiencies in how institutional money moved. I'd quit on a Tuesday, told my parents on Wednesday, and listened to Dad's 40-minute speech about throwing away stability and disappointing everyone. "You're making a huge mistake," Victoria had said. "But that's typical Emma. Always thinking you know better than everyone else." I'd started Quantum Financial Systems in my 600-square-foot apartment with 2 co-founders from my university days, Marcus and Priya. Both had believed in the vision when I'd pitched it over coffee. Both had families who'd supported their risk-taking. The first year was brutal. 16-hour days. Ramen for dinner. Max credit cards. We'd lived on the edge of financial collapse for 11 months. Then we'd landed our first client, a mid-size investment firm willing to trial our platform. Within 3 months, their algorithmic trading efficiency had improved 34%. Within 6 months, they'd signed a $2.3 million annual contract. That was 5 years ago. Since then we'd grown exponentially. Series of funding, $23 million. Series B, $67 million. Series C, which had closed 2 months ago, $180 million. Total money raised, $270 million. Current valuation, $680 million. My ownership stake, 42%, worth approximately $285 million on paper. I was 28 years old. Forbes had featured me 4 months ago with the headline, "The 28-year-old who's revolutionizing institutional finance." The article included photos of me in my office, quotes about disrupting traditional finance, details about our technology. I'd sent the magazine to exactly 3 people: Marcus, Priya, and my mentor from university. Not my family. What would be the point? Victoria's text messages continued through Thursday and Friday. Thanks for understanding about Sunday. Derek's really sensitive about appearances. Mom's making her famous lamb. You're not missing much lol. Derek's partners are super old school. They judge everyone by their job. You get it. I replied to none of them. Instead, I focused on the investor meeting scheduled for Tuesday, a potential client meeting that my head of business development, James, had arranged with Silvercrest Capital. They're interested in licensing our platform for their alternative investments division, James had explained in our prep meeting Friday afternoon. Big opportunity. They manage $47 billion in assets. Contract could be worth $15 to $20 million annually. Who's coming to the meeting? I'd asked. James checked his notes. Their VP of Alternative Investments, Derek Morrison. Their head of technology, Susan Park. And their managing director, Richard Grantham. I'd paused. Derek Morrison? Yeah, do you know him? No, I'd lied. Just making sure I have the name right. Derek Morrison. Victoria's fiancé. The man she'd been dating for 8 months. The man she'd been texting me about all week. The man whose sensitivity about appearances meant I wasn't welcome at Easter brunch. I'd said nothing to James. Nothing to Marcus or Priya. I'd simply prepared for the meeting like any other. Reviewed Silvercrest's portfolio. Analyzed their current technology stack. Prepared presentation materials showing exactly how our AI-driven platform could optimize their alternative investment strategies. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was watching. Monday was Easter. I spent it in my apartment working on Q2 projections and reviewing our expansion plans for the European market. My phone stayed silent except for one text from Mom at 4 p.m. Easter brunch was lovely. Derek is so impressive. Victoria's so lucky. Hope you had a nice day. I replied, glad you enjoyed it. Around 7 p.m. Victoria posted 14 photos to Instagram. The whole family at Mom and Dad's house. Victoria with Derek, her arm around his waist, both of them smiling. Derek with Dad, both holding whiskey glasses. Everyone around the table, the famous lamb in the center. The caption, perfect Easter with my perfect people. So blessed. 2 hearts #family #Easter #soblist. I liked the post. I didn't comment. Tuesday morning I arrived at the office at 7:30 a.m. The Silvercrest meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. in our main conference room. The one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the one with our technology demos set up on 3 large screens. At 9:45 I was in my corner office reviewing final notes when James knocked. They're early, he said. Just arrived. Security's bringing them up. Perfect, I said, standing and smoothing my Tom Ford suit, the navy one I'd bought last month for investor meetings. Let's make them comfortable. I walked with James to the reception area. Through the glass doors I could see 3 people signing in with security. An older man in his 60s, an Asian woman in her 40s, and Derek Morrison. He looked exactly like his Instagram photos. Tall, athletic build, expensive suit, confident posture. The man who worked in finance. The man who was too good to have his fiancée's sister at Easter brunch. The man whose partners were super old school about judging people by their jobs. Security cleared them through. Richard Grantham stepped forward first, extending his hand to James. Richard Grantham, managing director at Silvercrest. Thanks for having us. James shook his hand. James Chin, head of business development. Welcome to Quantum Financial Systems. This is our founder and CEO. Derek's eyes found me at exactly that moment. I watched the recognition hit him. Watched his confident expression fracture into confusion. Watched him look from me to the reception desk behind me, where our company name was displayed in 6-foot steel letters. Watched him look back at me. Emma Chin, I said, extending my hand to Richard Grantham. Founder and CEO. Welcome. Grantham shook my hand warmly. Miss Chen, Richard. Please call me Richard. I've been following your company's growth. Impressive work. Thank you. We're excited about this meeting. I turned to Susan Park, shook her hand. Miss Park. Susan, please. Looking forward to seeing the platform. Then I turned to Derek. Extended my hand. Smiled politely. Mr. Morrison. He shook my hand mechanically. His palm was sweating. Emma. I didn't realize that I work here. I kept my voice professionally pleasant. Yes. I founded Quantum about 6 years ago. Shall we head to the conference room? I think you'll be interested in what we've built. I turned and walked toward the conference room. Behind me, I heard Richard say to Derek, "You've met Emma before?" Derek's response was strangled. "She's my fiancé's sister." The conference room seated 12 around a modern table. I took my seat at the head. James sat to my right with our Chief Technology Officer Priya to my left. The Silvercrest team sat opposite. Derek hadn't stopped staring at me. I could feel his eyes every time I spoke, every time I moved. Susan and Richard were focused, professional, asking smart questions. Derek was spiraling. I opened the presentation. Silvercrest Capital manages $47 billion in assets, with approximately $8 billion in alternative investments. Your current algorithmic trading infrastructure processes about 2,400 transactions daily with an average lag time of 1.7 seconds. Our AI-driven platform can reduce that lag to 0.3 seconds while processing up to 12,000 transactions daily, which would increase your operational efficiency by 340% and reduce your technology overhead costs by approximately $4.2 million annually. I clicked to the next slide. We currently serve 34 institutional clients including Baxton Group, Meridian Capital and Fortress Investments. Combined, they process $4.2 billion daily through our platform across 47 countries. Richard leaned forward. What's your average contract value? Annual licensing fees range from $8 million to $24 million depending on asset volume and customization requirements. For Silvercrest's portfolio size, we'd be looking at approximately $18 million annually for full platform access with dedicated support. Derek made a sound like he'd been punched. Richard glanced at him, then back at me. That's in line with what we'd budgeted, Susan said. Can we see a demo of the interface? Absolutely. I nodded to Priya, who brought up the live demo on the center screen. For the next 40 minutes, I walked them through our technology, showed them the AI learning patterns, demonstrated the predictive analytics, explained our security protocols, answered every technical question with precise detail. Derek said nothing. Just sat there, growing paler, staring at me like I was a stranger who happened to look exactly like someone he knew. At 11:40, Richard stood and extended his hand. Emma, this is exactly what we've been looking for. Susan, thoughts? Susan nodded. The technology is solid. More robust than the 3 other vendors we've evaluated. I'd recommend we move forward with a pilot contract. Agreed. Richard turned to me. We'd like to propose a 6-month pilot starting in Q3, transitioning to a full contract if the results match your projections. I stood and shook his hand. We can have a formal proposal to you by end of week. Perfect. Richard turned to Derek. Derek, you've been quiet. Any concerns from the alternative investment side? Derek's face was white. No. No concerns. This is all very impressive. Excellent. Richard checked his watch. We should head out. Derek, Susan, let's debrief in the car. James walked them toward reception. I hung back, closing my laptop. When I looked up, Derek had stopped in the doorway. Richard and Susan were already at the elevators. Derek turned back. Emma, he said quietly. Does Victoria know? I met his eyes. Does Victoria know what? That you're this. He gestured around the office. That you're a CEO. That your company is worth. What did Forbes say? $680 million. Ah. I smiled. You read the Forbes article. It's on your wall. He pointed to the framed magazine cover visible through my office glass walls. The cover where I stood in front of the New York Stock Exchange with the headline, The FinTech Disruptor, How Emma Chen Built a $680 Million Empire by Age 28. Yes, it is. Does she know? He repeated. Victoria knows I work in software development. She's never asked for details. Neither has anyone in my family. Why would I volunteer information that doesn't interest them? She said you. He stopped. Started again. At Easter she said you work some entry-level IT job. That you've never been ambitious. That you're the family disappointment. Did she? It wasn't a question. Emma, He ran his hand through his hair. She uninvited you to Easter brunch. She said your job would embarrass me in front of my partners. Yes. She texted me on Wednesday. I picked up my laptop. Your partners are here now. Were you embarrassed? His face went red. No, obviously, Emma, this is huge. This is massive. You're running a company that could be Silvercrest's primary technology vendor. If Richard finds out that Victoria didn't even want you at a family brunch because my job would embarrass you? I finished. Derek, here's what's going to happen. Your team is going to submit a formal RFP by Friday. My team will respond with a comprehensive proposal by the following Wednesday. You'll spend 3 weeks doing due diligence on our technology, our financials, our client references. Then you'll offer us a pilot contract worth approximately $5.8 million for 6 months, transitioning to $18 million annually after successful completion. I walked past him toward my office. At the doorway I turned back. That's our professional relationship. As for Victoria and Easter brunch, that's between you and her. Though I'd suggest you ask yourself what kind of person judges their siblings' worth by their job title without ever asking what that job actually is. Emma. Enjoy your debrief, Derek. I look forward to receiving Silvercrest's RFP. I walked into my office and closed the door. Drop a comment if you've ever had someone judge you without knowing the full story. The reveal is always sweet. For 3 days nothing happened. Derek didn't call. Victoria didn't text. The silence was instructive. On Friday at 4:47 p.m., Silvercrest's formal RFP arrived via email to James. I reviewed it with Priya and our legal team. It was comprehensive, professional, exactly what we'd expected. Derek's name was on the distribution list but not the primary contact. I assigned the response to our business development team and moved on to other priorities. Tuesday morning my phone rang at 8:15 a.m. Victoria. I answered. Hi, Victoria. Emma. Her voice was tight. We need to talk. Okay. Derek told me about the meeting. Good. Silence. Then, why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That your company, Emma, he said you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He said Forbes did a cover story on you. He said you've built some massive tech empire and you've been hiding it from everyone. I haven't been hiding anything. I've been working. There's a difference. You let us think you were nobody. I pulled the phone away from my ear for a moment. Took a breath. Put it back. Victoria, for 6 years, every time we've had a family gathering, I've told anyone who asked that I work in software development and technology. That's accurate. No one ever asked follow-up questions. No one ever said, tell me about your company, or, how's your business going? No one was interested. You should have told us anyway. Why? The question seemed to stall her. Because we're your family. The family that didn't want me at Easter brunch because my job would embarrass your fiancé? Silence. Victoria, you texted me on Wednesday and told me to skip Easter because my situation would be awkward for Derek. On Tuesday, Derek and his managing director sat in my conference room and signed an RFP that could bring $18 million annually to my company. So which version of my situation is actually awkward? That's not fair. What's not fair is deciding my worth based on assumptions without ever asking me a single question about my life. What's not fair is judging me as a failure for 6 years while I built a company from nothing. What's not fair is uninviting me from family events because you decided I wasn't successful enough to meet your standards. I didn't mean. Victoria, I need to go. I have a meeting. Emma, wait. Mom and Dad don't know yet. I haven't told them. But Derek said his partners are talking about this and you're worried about how it looks that you treated your CO's sister like she was beneath you? Silence. Here's what I'm going to do, I said. Nothing. I'm not going to make any announcements. I'm not going to show up at the next family gathering and make some dramatic reveal. I'm just going to keep living my life, running my company, and being polite at family events if I'm invited to them. If people ask me what I do, I'll tell them the same thing I've always told them. I work in software development and technology. If they want to know more, they can ask more. But Derek is going to complete his due diligence on my company. His team is going to recommend moving forward with a pilot contract. And either he'll explain to you why judging people by their job titles is problematic or he won't. That's between you two. Emma. I have to go, Victoria. Goodbye. I hung up. The messages started within hours. Mom called at 10 a.m. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Emma, Victoria told me something absolutely shocking. Call me immediately. This is your mother. Dad called at noon. I didn't answer. His voicemail. Emma-chan, call me back. We need to discuss this situation. Victoria texted at 2 p.m. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Why aren't you answering their calls? I replied, I'm working. Victoria, this is serious. Me, yes. Running a $680 million company is very serious. Requires focus. Victoria, don't be like this. I didn't respond. At 4 p.m., Marcus knocked on my office door. Your dad is in reception. I looked up from my laptop. Excuse me. Your dad says he needs to see you. Security doesn't want to turn him away without your approval. I sat back in my chair. Considered. Then nodded. Send him back. 2 minutes later, Dad walked into my office. He stopped 3 feet inside the door, staring at the space. The floor-to-ceiling windows, the modern furniture, the framed Forbes cover on the wall, the view of the city from 47 floors up. Emma, he said. Hi, Dad. Would you like to sit? He sat heavily in one of my visitor chairs. Victoria told me something impossible. Did she? She said you own a company. The CEO. That you're worth. He stopped. It can't be true. I gestured around the office. This is Quantum Financial Systems. I founded it 6 years ago with 2 partners from university. We develop AI-driven algorithmic trading platforms for institutional investors. We currently serve 34 clients across 47 countries and process $4.2 billion in daily transactions. The company's current valuation is $680 million. My ownership stake is 42%. Forbes featured us 4 months ago. Dad stared at me. Why didn't you tell me? I did tell you. 6 years ago. I told you I was starting a technology company. You gave me a 40-minute speech about throwing away stability and disappointing everyone. That's not. I thought you meant some little app or, Emma, this is serious business. Yes. It is. You should have explained that you were building something real. I leaned forward. Dad, at what point in the last 6 years did you ask me a single question about my company? At what point did you say, how's your business going? Or, tell me about your work? You decided what I was doing wasn't important, so you stopped asking. That's not my failure to explain. That's your failure to be interested. His face reddened. Don't speak to me like. Like what? Like a successful CEO speaking to someone who dismissed her for 6 years without knowing any facts? Dad, I've been patient. I've been polite. I've shown up to family events where Victoria brags about her analyst job and you talk about your commercial properties. And I've said nothing about the fact that my company's quarterly revenue exceeds both of your annual incomes combined. I've let you think whatever you wanted to think because frankly, it was easier than constantly defending myself to people who'd already decided I was a failure. We never said you were a failure. Last Thanksgiving you introduced me to Uncle Rob as Emma who does something with computers. When Victoria got promoted to senior analyst, you threw her a dinner party. When I closed my Series C funding round for $180 million, you didn't know it happened because you never asked how my business was going. Dad stood up. This is ridiculous. You're angry because we didn't throw you a party? No, Dad. I'm not angry. I'm just done pretending that your lack of interest in my life is somehow my responsibility to fix. Emma. I need to get back to work. If you'd like to have a real conversation about my company, my work, or my life, you're welcome to call and schedule time. But I won't be defending myself for being successful. Not to you. Not to Victoria. Not to anyone. Dad's face was red. Your mother expects you at Sunday dinner. Does she expect me or does she expect Emma the CEO so she can brag to her friends? He said nothing. I'll think about it, I said. Thank you for stopping by. He left without another word. Comment below if you've ever had to set boundaries with family who suddenly cared when they realized you were successful. This is the hard part. The weekend was a barrage of messages. Mom called 6 times. Victoria texted constantly. Even my Aunt Linda, who I hadn't heard from in 3 years, sent a Facebook message. Saw the Forbes article. So proud. Let's catch up soon. I answered none of them. Instead, I spent Saturday at the office with Priya and Marcus, reviewing our Q3 expansion plans. Spent Sunday at home reading and ignoring my phone. Monday morning, James appeared in my office doorway with a wide smile. Silvercrest just sent their pilot contract. $5.8 million for 6 months starting July 1st. Derek Morrison called personally to confirm they're moving forward. Excellent. Send it to legal for review. Already done. James paused. Derek mentioned that he'd like to meet with you personally to discuss the implementation timeline. Said he wants to make sure the transition is smooth. Schedule it with his assistant. Formal meeting, conference room, full team present. Not a one-on-one? No. This is business. We keep it professional. James nodded and left. I returned to my email. At 11 a.m. Victoria called. I considered not answering. Then on the 8th ring I picked up. Hi Victoria. Emma please. Just talk to me for 5 minutes. I said nothing. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry I uninvited you to Easter. I'm sorry I've been dismissive of your work. I'm sorry I judged you without knowing anything about what you'd accomplished. Okay. I didn't know. Victoria, you didn't ask. That's different than not knowing. I know. You're right. I should have asked. I should have been interested. I should have been a better sister. I waited. He's been really clear about how badly I messed up. He said what I did was unforgivable. He said it reflected poorly on both of us that I treated my own sister like she was beneath me. He said his partners are asking questions about why I didn't even know what my sister did for a living. Victoria, are you apologizing because you're sorry, or because it's affecting your relationship with Derek? Long silence. Both, she finally said. Is that terrible? It's honest. I sighed. Look, I accept your apology. But I need you to understand something. I didn't build this company to prove anything to you or mom or dad. I built it because I saw a problem in institutional finance and I knew I could solve it. I've spent 6 years working 80-hour weeks, risking everything, building something from nothing. And I did it without your support or encouragement or interest. So when you say you're sorry for not knowing, what you're really saying is you're sorry you got caught not caring. That's harsh. It's true. Another silence. Then, what do I do now? You decide what kind of sister you want to be going forward. You can be the person who cares about me because my company is successful and dating your fiancé's firm. Or you can be the person who cares about me regardless of what I do or don't accomplish professionally. But you can't be both. And I'm not going to help you figure out which one you choose. Emma. I have a meeting, Victoria. Take care. I hung up. The Silvercrest pilot contract launched in July. By August, their algorithmic trading efficiency had improved 38%. By September, Derek was presenting our results to Silvercrest's board of directors with a recommendation to convert to a full annual contract. My family situation evolved slowly. Mom called once a week, not to ask about my company but to have actual conversations. She'd started asking about my life, my friends, whether I was dating anyone. It was awkward at first, but it felt genuine. Dad had shown up to my office one more time in August with a request. Would you teach me about your technology? I want to understand what you've built. I'd said yes. We'd met for coffee twice and I'd explained algorithmic trading in terms he could understand. He'd listened, asked questions. At the end of the second meeting he'd said, I wish I'd done this 6 years ago. Me too, I'd replied. Victoria was more complicated. She'd invited me to 3 events since our phone call. I'd declined 2 and attended one, a birthday dinner for Derek. She'd introduced me as my sister Emma, who founded Quantum Financial Systems. It felt performative, but it was a start. The real change came in October. Derek and Victoria had their engagement party at Silvercrest's private club, the same venue where they'd planned Easter brunch. This time I was invited. Not just invited, Victoria had texted, please come. I know you're busy, but it would mean everything to me. I'd almost said no. Then I'd thought about what Marcus had said when I told him about it. You've already won, Emma. Everything else is just showing up. So I'd shown up. The party was exactly what I'd expected. 150 people, champagne, excessive flowers, everyone in expensive clothes talking about finance and real estate and who was getting promoted where. I'd arrived at 7 p.m. wearing a black Saint Laurent dress. Victoria had spotted me immediately and rushed over. You came, she'd said, and for the first time in years she'd hugged me like she meant it. Congratulations, I'd said. Both of you. Derek had joined us, extending his hand formally. Emma. Thank you for coming. And thank you for what your team has done with the pilot. The results have exceeded every projection. That's good to hear. Victoria had pulled me toward a group of her colleagues. Everyone, this is my sister Emma. She founded Quantum Financial Systems. I'd shaken hands, answered questions about our technology, kept everything professional and brief. After 20 minutes, I'd excused myself to get a drink. At the bar, Richard Grantham had appeared beside me. Emma, he'd said. I wanted to tell you personally. The board approved the full contract this morning. $18 million annually, 3-year term, option to expand. Derek's presenting the final paperwork to your team on Wednesday. That's excellent news, Richard. Thank you. Thank you. You've built something remarkable. He'd raised his glass. To disruption. I'd clinked glasses with him. To solving real problems. I'd stayed at the party for exactly 2 hours. On my way out, Victoria had caught me at the door. Thank you for coming, she'd said. Really. It meant a lot. You're welcome. Emma, I'm trying. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm trying to be better. I'd looked at my sister, really looked at her. Seen the effort behind the words. Seen the person who'd spent 6 years being the favorite, learning what it felt like to realize she'd been wrong about something important. I know, I'd said. Keep trying. Final question for everyone watching. Have you ever been underestimated by people who should have known better? Drop a comment with your story. And if this resonated with you, consider subscribing. We post stories like this every week about people who were dismissed, who built something amazing anyway, and who got the last word. Thanks for watching. Today, Quantum Financial Systems employs 127 people and serves 52 institutional clients across 63 countries. Our annual revenue is $94 million. The company's valuation has reached $890 million. We're planning our Series D funding round for next year, which will likely take us past the $1 billion mark. My family knows what I do now. Most of them have tried, in their own ways, to rebuild relationships that were damaged by years of dismissal. Some are more genuine than others. Mom asks about my work and actually listens. Dad has attended 2 industry events where I was speaking. Victoria texts me about things other than her own life. It's not perfect. It's probably never going to be perfect. But it's different than it was. The Forbes cover still hangs in my office. Not because I need the validation, but because it reminds me that I built something real despite everyone who said I couldn't. That I succeeded not because my family believed in me, but because I believed in myself. Derek Morrison is now the Senior Vice President of Technology Integration at Silvercrest Capital. His primary responsibility is overseeing Silvercrest's partnership with Quantum Financial Systems. We have monthly strategy meetings. They're professional, productive, and never awkward. Last month, Victoria asked if I'd be her maid of honor at the wedding. I said yes. Not because she deserved it, but because I've stopped measuring my decisions by what people deserve and started measuring them by what I want my life to look like. I want my life to include forgiveness where forgiveness is earned, progress where progress is made, and boundaries where boundaries are necessary. 3 days ago, Victoria and I had coffee. She asked about the Series D funding round. Asked intelligent questions. Took notes. At the end, she'd said, "I'm proud of you, Emma. I should have said that 6 years ago, but I'm saying it now." "Thank you," I'd replied. Then she'd asked, "Do you think you'll ever be able to trust me again? Like really trust me the way sisters should?" I'd considered the question honestly. I don't know. But I think we can try. That's where we are now. Trying. Building something new from broken pieces. It's not the family relationship I wanted when I was 12 or 16 or 22. But it's the one we have. And maybe, eventually, it will be enough. My company is hosting its annual gala next month. a fundraiser for computer science education in underserved communities. I'm giving out $10,000 $50,000 scholarships to students who want to study technology but whose families think they should choose real careers. Victoria asked if she could volunteer at the event. I said yes. Because success isn't just about building a $890 million company. It's about deciding who you want to be when you have the power to be anything. It's about choosing forgiveness without forgetting. It's about showing up for the people who show up for you, even if it took them years to figure out they should. My name is Emma Chin. I'm the founder and CEO of Quantum Financial Systems. I'm 28 years old and worth approximately $373 million on paper. But more importantly, I'm the person who didn't need her family's belief to succeed. I just needed my own.